Hi everybody, Michelle McClunan, Astrologer, Life Navigator, and I'm bringing you an astrology update for the new moon, which is coming up on the 19th or 20th, depending on where you are, of February. In South Africa, it's on the 20th in the morning. So new moons, as we know, are always times of new beginnings, planting new seeds for the month ahead. And this one really is ushering in the end of our astrological cycle. So in other words, this is the last new moon of our astrological year, being in the sign of Pisces. It's the final sign of the zodiac. And then the new astrological year starts when the sun enters Aries. So what do we see on this new moon? Well, there's two very different themes, which I want to try and unpack for you, which you might be feeling already because the energy builds towards a new moon and a full moon. And so this is actually a waning energy, but it's still very powerful because this is a supermoon. So supermoons are a little bit more powerful than normal moons because the moon is closer and bigger and stronger, and the pull is bigger. So this new moon is in the sign of Pisces, which means the sun and the moon are in Pisces. And there are also two other planets, Neptune, which is the ruler of the new moon, and the planet Venus, which is the planet of love. And Venus is at her final degree of Pisces before she leaves Pisces and moves into Aries. So there's a lot of Pisces focus on this new moon. But in alignment with the new moon, we also have Saturn. And for the last few days, and right now as I make this on the 17th of February, Saturn is very, very close to the sun. And basically now it's going to be very close to the new moon as well. And there are two very, very different energies. So first of all, we have the Pisces energy, which is really, it's water. It's the final sign of the zodiac. It's the sign of release, letting go. It's actually the sign of the dissolving of the ego, the breaking open of the crust of the ego to reveal what's really inside, to really connect us. Whenever we have a lot of energy in Pisces, we are sort of called upon to really connect with that which is deeper within us, that which is not defined by the body, the mind, the roles, the gender. You know, what's deeper than that? Pisces is the sign of oneness, of unity, of unification. It's the sign that calls us home, really, to our true divine self. So when we have a lot of energy in Pisces, there can be a lot of feelings that you might have felt that you had put aside and got rid of and put to bed. Those feelings might come up, feelings of grief, feelings of sadness, overwhelm, confusion. Pisces is the sign of the sea, it's the ocean. There's no boundaries, there's no barriers, there's just ocean. And very often when there's a lot of Pisces energy around, there's a feeling of not being able to see clearly in terms of our physical world, our physical reality. So what we're called to do is to look inside with inner vision and to trust that there's a process unfolding which we cannot see yet. So what kept on coming to me over the last few days while I was kind of processing this new moon was we're neither here nor there in terms of our big global picture, in terms of the awakening, the ascension that we're experiencing. We're not here and we're not there yet. And this is very much this new moon. This new moon is the end of one cycle and the new cycle hasn't been formed yet. So many people I know are experiencing that in-between worlds feeling of not knowing what's next, not being able to see a clear picture, a clear vision. Where's my next mountain that I'm going to climb and how am I going to climb it and when am I going to climb it? And that could be playing out in different aspects of your life, relationships, home, work, just where there's no real clarity. And that's the other part of this new moon, because right next to the moon, as I said, is Saturn. And Saturn represents form and structure and plans. So there's these two sides to this new moon. The one which is saying surrender, be in flow, trust the process even if you can't see it. Trust that you're being led even if you can't see that you're being led, because it's nebulous. It's not formed yet. And on the other side of it, we've got Saturn sitting there saying make a plan, sort it out, come up with an idea, make a commitment. So it's really, this I see as really straddling both of those worlds. So embracing our full humanity, which is this form, this name, this gender, this place that I live in, this career that I do, the world of form, embracing that because that's where we're living, as well as embracing and really connecting with that deeper part of ourselves, that part of ourselves that is connected to all that is infinite, that will never die. And that part of ourselves is much more mysterious, and it kind of can be very daunting and very difficult for the human side of us, the ego as well, because the ego wants to know, the ego wants to make plans, the ego wants answers. And at the moment, there might not be those answers. It's definitely going to be about embracing both sides, the dark and the light, the masculine and the feminine, the being, the doing. If you look at Pisces as a symbol, the symbol of Pisces is two fish swimming in opposite directions. And they get to the same destination because it's a circular dance. But while they're in the dance, there's no borders, there's no barriers, there's no clarity. There's a trust that they're in the ocean of awareness, and that this ocean of awareness, which might be called love, is actually allowing flow, something new to flow in to being. So it sounds quite nebulous, but it's because it is quite nebulous. So if you're feeling nebulous and you're feeling a little bit de-energized, you might be feeling a bit emotional, you might feel like just curling up and just being, or being very quiet, or going inside. Do that, because that's what's being called. So new moon is a dark moon. It's where we actually get to go inside, and from that inside place, not with an expectation, because that's what Saturn will do. Saturn will say, well, if I go inside, then something's got to come out of that. It's actually more about just being in that nowhere space, being in that space where you don't know, and almost becoming more comfortable with the spaces in between, with those in-between spaces, which is very uncomfortable for the ego. The ego does not like the space in between. The ego doesn't like the dark place. The ego doesn't like to not know what's going on. So generally what we'll do is we'll escape that. So we'll escape the deep emotions that might come from that place. We'll escape the discomfort from not knowing, the darkness of not knowing. But sometimes that very space, the void, the darkness, is the place where new life is forged. If you think about the womb and you think of all new life, the plant world is born from underneath the ground. That's where the seeds actually happen. So it's for us to learn how to straddle both. Yes, we're having a human experience. And yes, we're actually divine, infinite souls having that human experience. And this is where we get to actually straddle both. So Neptune, which is the ruler of this new moon, as I said, is in a very close alignment with Venus, the planet of love. So that again, it says, where is our go-to place? Our go-to place is to soften, is to return to the love of ourselves, acceptance, allowing, appreciating of what is happening, softening our hearts towards others who might be struggling, because other people are struggling right now. Everybody's doing the best they can. We're all walking each other home. Nobody's ahead of the game. Nobody's behind the game. We're all just on our little journeys, walking each other home. So where we can actually reach out, where we can be there for somebody, even if it's just to listen while they offload, or just there to say, it's going to be okay. I'm here. That goes a long way right now, even if it doesn't feel like you're doing much. Just being a human being right now is pretty powerful. This energy leads us right up till the equinox, which is on the 20th of March. And March is going to be quite a big month. We have a lot of different activity in March, which I've mentioned before. Saturn, which is in its final degrees of Aquarius, is moving into the sign of Pisces, which is kind of an extension of this. So you could see this new moon as a prelude to the Saturn moving into the sign of Pisces, where it'll stay for the next 3 years. Saturn hasn't been in Pisces for the last 30 years. So it's the end of a major cycle as well as the monthly cycle. So this is the ending. If you look back 29 to 30 years ago, it might have similar themes happening for you, because that was the end of one Saturn cycle and the beginning of a new Saturn cycle. So that's happening in March. And Pluto's moving into the sign of Aquarius for the first time in 250 years or so. So that's going to be a big move, which is going to reveal itself as it will. There's also a couple of other planetary movements in March. And so the equinox is kind of almost a culmination point. It's a very powerful point in March. John and I, my partner and I, will be doing a retreat, facilitating a retreat in Hogsback. That's actually going to be falling over that equinox to actually support and ground the energy to prepare us for what's ahead. Because I believe that the way we're going to navigate these changes, because they're enormous, the changes that we have on our planet, the way we will navigate them is through the heart, through our love energy, through unification, through grounding, through bringing ourselves back to who we really, really are. Our real core is the ever-present now. That's what our real core is. And so that's what we will be navigating with the people that come on our retreat. It's in a beautiful place. Hogsback is really special. It's a very powerful place. We find that when we do retreats there, things just seem to happen. So doing it at that time is going to be pretty powerful. There are a few spaces left, not very many, and we're running a Valentine's special, a Love Month special. So have a look at our website. The details are below, in the description below. So really, this is a month where we're going to be going with the flow. We're going to be returning to oneness. We're going to be returning to that place where it's okay, that place where a few breaths bring us back into a surrendered place and not this very stressed out place that is all around us. Bringing ourselves to the center of the wheel. That's going to be the answer. It's really a time of surrender. Surrendering the expectations. Surrendering the not knowing. I don't know, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you've made a mistake because you don't know. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you because you can't see the future. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you because a lot of emotions are coming up. These emotions are coming up to be cleared, to be felt, to be embraced, because we're becoming more and more authentic of who we really are. So I actually pulled 2 cards this week. The first card that kind of popped out was Mary Magdalene, and it was interesting because she kind of says what I was saying. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but it's this card here, Mary Magdalene. And the words that are on the card is, I am the bridge between heaven and earth. I am fully human and fully divine, which could not explain better Pisces and Saturn, which are the 2 main influences this new moon. What the card says is Mary Magdalene represents the fierce, unwavering love that we all have access to within our vulnerable hearts. Neptune, Venus. It's a love that renders all things sacred, from the animals to the angels, from the poorest to the most powerful. It's a love that sees the inherent worth of all things, and it's a love that remains, even through the darkest times, even through death. Her love is one that resurrects. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene relates that Jesus came to unite us, to demonstrate to us a true human being, meaning a person who is both fully human and fully divine. This is what Mary became. It's why she was so beloved to Jesus. She didn't seek to follow him. She sought instead to become her true self. Mary Magdalene reminds us that we have the power to receive vision from within. We are worthy of such proximity to the divine because that's the other half of what it means to be truly human. She reminds us that there's a bridge between heaven and earth and that we are that bridge. And she wants us to remember that the truest church we can ever enter is the heart. This is where our true power rests and where love never ends. So the question is, where has my love not yet reached? That could mean, has it reached you yet? Have you loved others but not yourself? Have you loved others but never really embraced true love for the true you? Just a point. And the intention again, I am the bridge between heaven and earth. I am fully human and fully divine. So that's a beautiful card. And the other card that popped out from the other deck, which is the Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron Reid, was Between Worlds. So I mean, I just had to read that as well. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read some of it. The essential meanings are transitions, not being out of one situation and fully engaged in another. Temporary blindness, no man's land. The message, Between Worlds, is where you must let go of the tendency to make assumptions. This is a time where you might be unable to see what is ahead. Cultivate curiosity and trust the process of change and growth. You are done learning the lessons of recent experiences. Maybe that's the 30-year cycle that you're ready to let go of. In this place between what was and what will be is a state of making and unmaking and making again. What is essential now is to admit not knowing. There is a great freedom and power. There is a great freedom and power to be unleashed. A mystery that is not yours to understand weaves the web of life within a divine matrix of consciousness greater than your own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, desires, and decisions. The seeds that were planted in the past begin to take root, but what surfaces will probably not be what you expect. When you are between the worlds, you are invited to see with the curious eyes of a child, glimpsing a rainbow for the first time. Do so and you will not be disappointed. Be mindful of your expectations. This is not a time for guarantees. Things might not go exactly as you plan or dictate. Let go and see what Spirit has in store. What takes hold in your life will be better than you can imagine. And Pisces is a sign of imagination. It's that part of us that is able to just flow with beautiful visions and beautiful imaginations and realize that there's even more than that and that we're connected to something much, much bigger than we know. So I hope that that has helped clarify some of the energy and helped you navigate it. I would say that over the weekend, take some quiet time. Whatever your art is, if you engage in any kind of art, make art, dance, play music, connect with nature, paint, draw, doodle. Do something which actually takes you into this very receptive place. This is a very receptive new moon. It's a very fertile new moon to plant seeds of oneness, to plant seeds of love. Maybe not to plant seeds for a specific outcome, but rather to plant seeds of how you really want to feel. So to get yourself into that feeling and plant the seeds from there on this new moon. So make some time for yourself this new moon. It's soft, it's gentle, it's kind. Show kindness. Be gentle with yourself. Take some time out. Rest if you need to. Lots of love. If you are looking for a reading, you can contact me on my website below. The details are below here. And I've got a bit of a delay, so you might have to wait for a little bit, but we can schedule it for the future. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this video, please press the subscribe button and the little notification bell, and you'll be notified when I post a video every 2 weeks. Thanks so much for listening and for watching. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend.